We are the music makers, and we are the dreamers of dreams.
I really like that song. One of the things that I'm looking for, I always love to see in artists is when I can feel their soul through their song.
Yeah.
Like, no matter how successful or talented or good the song is or whatever, like there are certain songs where you can like feel the artist's soul. Like I Have Nothing by Whitney Houston is like an example of when she sings that and she performs that, I can feel her soul in that song.
Yeah.
And I can feel a little bit of that in this song. So I really like it. So
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm excited for more people to hear it. So they need to. Okay, so where did this song come from? You moved to London when you were 17.
Yeah, so
Right.
I just graduated high school. I was about to go to London. I had worked really hard. I got into music school when I was 15. I'd done all the work, and this was my holy grail of I'm going to make my career happen. I was so motivated about it. And right after I graduated high school, there's a certain dating app in the gay community that I had been made aware to me. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so thrilled. I had just lost 100 pounds. I went from literally thinking that no one was ever going to love me, or, kiss me or anything, to now me feeling like I was in this new body and I was finally allowed to, I'm like, oh, like people might, be interested in me. Oh my God, this is so cool. There's a dating app
Good for you.
for gay people. And I'm so excited that, because I didn't get to date in high school. There were no other gay kids around.
Right.
So I was like, oh, wow, this is cool. And I went on not really knowing what it was, and went on a date. I went on a walk, and just didn't end up being the best situation for me without getting into any details that we don't need to get into. I'm really lucky to be in Canada to the point where, regardless of what happened, I was able to, go to the hospital discreetly and get things taken care of that had to be taken care of, and treatment was provided for me by our government, which was awesome. But it was something that had happened, and I knew that if I told anyone about it, that I wasn't going to be allowed to go to London to go to music school, which was my dream. And I was like, I'm not going to let this stop for whatever procedures were going to happen if I came clean about what had happened.
Right.
I didn't want to go through it. I wanted to forget that it had happened. I wanted to get my treatment done, and I wanted to go to school. So I didn't tell anyone about it. And then I thought that it was done and over with.
Right.
And I had moved on with my life and all that stuff. And I think as I got older and after I moved back, this is probably 3 years after the incident had happened, I had kind of started to notice patterns of how I had learned to cope with things and things that I'd kind of carried with me from that. And so I talked to one of my best friends, Luca Fogali, who's an amazing artist in his own respect. I'd recommend everyone go listen to him. But he's one of my best friends as well. I've worked with him on music since Sounds and onward. And I sat him down in his basement, and I was like, I want to write a song. Here's the chords. I don't really know how to talk about it, but I want to get your opinion on this.
Right.
And then I started singing it, and then verse 2 happened. And there's a line in verse 2 where I say 17 when he put his hands on me, and then he stopped, and he was like so caught off guard by it. Because I really had to process if I wanted to be so blunt about it. Because I didn't want to trigger anyone, and I didn't want to be too forward. And my biggest fear throughout the whole process was that anyone would think that I wanted attention for it.
Right.
It's so easy to see on Twitter or on social media, anything, whenever people come forward with anything, it's very easy to attack or victim shame or to say that things didn't happen. And the last thing that I wanted was for that to happen. And so we had to have serious conversations about, do we even want to write this song?
Right.
Is it too shocking and garish? Because I don't want it to be like this shock piece. And he's one of the best humans I know, was unbelievably supportive in whatever I wanted to whatever my comfort level was, to kind of let me tell my story. So I made the demo. It was it kind of opened Pandora's box for me, to use that reference again, in personal aspects. And I sent it to the label with a group of like 8 songs, and my manager picked Flashback and I think The Coast is the 2 standouts. And I was like, okay, I guess we're moving forward on this. And kudos to, my label as well for being able to champion a personal story like this as well. I don't think that it's a song that necessarily is going to top the charts in any sense of the word, but it was something for me that spawned a really powerful kind of transformation in myself, just to like deal with the fact that I had to address some of these issues. And releasing the song, when I realized that the song was actually going to come out,
right,
I had like this really serious fear, because not only like, it's one thing to say things to complete strangers, but I'm like, my family's going to hear this.
Yeah.
My extended family's going to hear this.
Right.
And it's going to cause a lot of questions internally as to what happened and why it happened and how things were dealt with.
Did that happen?
It did. I got calls from extended family members that were like, that wanted details on what had happened.
Right.
And I mean, looking out for me and wanting to make sure that I was okay and
coming
all this
from
stuff.
a loving place.
Yeah, coming from a loving place. But
it's still hard. It's still hard for you.
Yeah. The most beneficial thing for me was at that point, I knew that song was going to be released, I started going to therapy. And although it kind of sent me into a spiral at first when I actually unboxed all of these things, it was a really powerful moment for me to kind of look at from the outside how growing up in the gay community, growing up with, dating apps that aren't really dating apps.
Right.
And then
sex apps.
Yeah, sex apps, things that have, growing up with that from 17 years old, the kind of the patterns that programmed into me on where I saw my worth and how I interacted with other gay people in the community. And it was a really amazing aha moment for me to realize how I wanted to conduct myself moving forward.
Right.
And if some of those things that I learned were kind of coping mechanisms that weren't benefiting me or my future relationships.
I wish we could have more conversations about how, like, in gay culture, there's a difference between like sexual intimacy and like genuine connection. And I feel like those kind of get confused a lot in the gay community. And they're very different. And a lot of people, like, I feel like they don't know how to do the genuine connection thing, or they confuse them. And it's like, no.
Well,
like,
I remember the first moment that I opened the app. I'll just call it the app. And I mean, I was young and I thought it was a dating app. And I remember in the first 10 minutes being berated with all of the content that you get berated with on that.
Right.
And I remember the aha moment of, oh, this is how we do things.
Right.
And, oh, this is what dating is for us.
Right.
And I was like, okay, better follow suit. And I remember someone asked me, want to cuddle? And I remember thinking genuinely that they wanted to cuddle.
Me too. I was the same way.
And I had butterflies in my stomach and I was like, oh my God, my movie moment is finally happening.
Right.
And then over time and over constant exposure to it, I realized I'm like, oh, that's not what people mean. And I just need to buckle up and get in the game here because it's moving all around me and I'm falling behind.
Right.
So there's
this whole double speak thing that happens and you can nobody tells you, there's no rule book, right?
Yeah.
You just gotta learn it.
Like, how old are you if you don't mind me asking?
27.
Yeah. Like we're a part of the first generation, or I'll speak for myself, but I was raised with it. There was no dating prior to it, and I don't know anything different. And I really feel for the next generation coming up in this community, because I had to learn my worth and my value wasn't through my body at 22. I didn't understand that. And it was made very clear to me that, oh, this is the way to do things. And I wish that like we're kind of just left to police ourselves. But I think that there's a lot of internal struggle. At least I'll speak for myself personally. There was a lot of internal struggle with realizing if my body was the most important thing that I had to offer people, or the only thing that I had to offer people.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's weird. Like, as millennials, we're the last generation with one foot outside the internet and one foot in the internet.
Absolutely.
And so our parents didn't have rule books. Like, this is the first, like, one of the first times in history. Like, normally you have the older generation telling, like, the generation, like, hey, these are all the things, right?
Yeah.
But we were the first one where it was like, nobody knows what's going on. Literally no one. So we're figuring this shit out on our own, and we're going to make some mistakes. It's going to be weird. There's going to be some crazy stuff that happens, but we're going to figure it out. So I feel really good for, like, Gen Z, I think it is Gen Z.
Yeah.
The coming after, because I can already see that it's less of a like nobody cares if you're gay. It's like just like less people even like ask, you know?
Yeah.
Like, and it's so much easier for kids that are growing up in middle school and high school just to like explore and be cool with it. Like, hey, like I'm a dude. I like dick. Okay, that's cool. Like whatever. Like, you know, like.
It's that's what being gay is. I've been doing it all wrong this whole time. Yeah.
But it's just like they're free to explore in a way that, like, in a healthy way. You know, that a lot of previous generations didn't get to. So I think that's really encouraging. I'm really looking forward to seeing that. But I mean, one of the things that I really love about artists is like you guys have so much courage because you're constantly making yourself vulnerable. Like you're putting these like vulnerable parts of you like out there in the world for people to just like listen to and like empathize with. And I think that's just like so courageous and amazing because like just like the Macklemore song, right? Like that took courage to make, right?
Absolutely.
But it was like just such a transformational thing for the people that it resonated with.
Yeah.
And so like that's I feel like the reward you get when you show that vulnerability is you know really help other people to get through whatever they're going through. So
well, thank you very much for saying that. It's that song was the first song that sent me into like a bit of a mental breakdown, but I think it was really a moment where I had to break down everything to build it back up. And, you know, I'd rather deal with those demons and those patterns and everything now rather than later. And I feel like I've, you know, kind of cleaned out some of the dust from under the bed, and therapy is a journey that I still continue with. And, you know, it's been super beneficial to me, and I'm grateful that the song happened and it's been put out into the world. And, you know, hopefully it helps someone else. But really, it was kind of selfishly a song that I needed to help myself.
Good. Well, I'm glad you did it. I'm really glad you did it.
These stories are beautiful.